Bryan Abrams of Color Me Bad, thank you for joining us today. And I know I saw you in person when you were out in California. So what a rare and blessed opportunity for us to meet. And now you're back home in Oklahoma.
Yes.
How was the flight? How was the whole experience when you were out here?
It was great. I had a wonderful experience. Got to see Paula. We really didn't get a chance to connect because there was a lot of people in between, but it was great seeing her again and meeting you. And I guess the little doggy you brought with you that who's cute. It was a great experience, man. Now that I'm in my third year of sobriety, I'm kind of looking forward to reaching out and spending a little more time being selfless instead of selfish, basically. So it was great. Got back home about 1 a.m. and in time to get some rest and take my daughters to school the next morning.
I love it. And, I listened to your new song and I can definitely hear that, this new renaissance for your life. So I'm super excited, but we'll get to that in a bit. But, you came out here for the Up Live event, the kickoff. And I noticed that, and you did not tell this to me, I think when we were talking, but I found out later that you're one of the mentors. You're going to be one of the people that's going to, mentor this young talent and usher them to greatness. So tell us a little bit about that experience, how you were chosen, and what to expect going forward.
I'm guessing that I was chosen maybe because some of the history with Paula. She was one of the first tours actually that we ever were on as a group back in the 90s. I guess maybe once people started hearing that I was sober and starting to reach out and do some things in a different way, maybe the word got around. I'm honestly not sure how my name came up, but I was just really grateful and really excited because, of course, I have teenage daughters. So I'm loving the idea of reaching out and working with some young musicians, people that are just getting started and haven't been really, groomed 100%. And so it gives me a chance to talk with them and work with them a little bit on some things that maybe you think about in front of the camera, but also things you think about behind the camera.
Awesome. And, besides your friendship with Paula, this is a pretty big undertaking. What inspired you, to take this on, and what do you hope to impart to your mentees as far as not only obviously on the technical side of music and obviously I heard your latest record, it's perfection. I mean, really, you're just a true professional as far as production and music and putting it together goes. And I listened back to some of the 90s stuff and it's just been a consistent, solid product. A lot of people don't know how much work goes into pop. And I heard that in your latest record. So I'm super excited about that. But, what do you hope to impart otherwise to the younger mentees that will be under your wing?
I want to be able to focus on the most important thing, in my opinion, isn't necessarily the business. I mean, you practice hard and you work on your craft, but you've got to stay grounded. You've got to stay focused and you've got to take care of yourself. Because if you don't, in this business, it's really easy to lose yourself. It's really easy to get caught up into all the wrong things. And a lot of people, if you started when you were young, like I did, you don't realize that you've gotten caught up into some of those wrong things until it's almost too late. So that's really what I want my focus to be is helping them learn how to stay grounded and stay focused on their health, mentally, spiritually, physically, and push themselves, but at the same time, just be able to stay grounded and stay healthy, because without your health, there's really no point in it. You'll fall apart,
And you're talking about mental health too, right? Taking time off. What fascinated me is from a young age, from when you were in high school, you and your band basically went around like nonstop. You guys went to the concerts and tried to meet established musical acts, and that's how you got your breakthrough, right? So it was just nonstop all these years. what does it mean to take that break and to say no to opportunities even? How is that balance for an up and coming young musician?
It's hard. You've got to find that balance. You've got to know when to say yes to projects and when to say no. If you already have bitten off more than you can chew, so to speak, you really need to take the time to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things, that it sounds kind of silly, but one of the things that I was taught when I started getting healthy again was to never get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. They call it halt. Never let yourself get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, because without those things, you start to let bad influences in. You start to kind of unwind a little bit, or unravel, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to make sure, especially when you're pushing yourself to the limit, that you never let any of those things happen, so you can keep your focus and keep your health intact.
The loneliness is a hard part, because I think in this business, and I've definitely seen it, people, it's hard to find friends, especially when you achieve fame at such a young age. Everyone has some weird ulterior motive. How are you able to, find the true ones, the true friends that will stick by you? And I think your wife deserves a lot of credit too, has stuck by you all these years, and, through some tumultuous times too. But the loneliness is a very, very difficult part. And I think, when I see a lot of stars that have, some of them have really fallen to, like Whitney Houston, for example, Michael Jackson, some of them really led very tortured lives. How do you fight that loneliness? Any wise words?
I would just to be honest about how you feel, and that's another reason why it's important to keep family first as well, because they're the ones that have been there before any of the fame, before any of the stuff takes off, and they're the ones that'll be around when there's nothing left. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so treasure the friends you have and family you have before you get started. It is possible to make new friends, and it's a wonderful thing to make new friends. I feel like I made a new friend when I met you, but you have to be careful. You have to be really careful. A lot of people out there that want to take advantage of people, especially when they're youngsters. They want to take advantage, and you've got to just be careful. You never really know in the end. You just have to try to be a lot more careful as far as trusting people that you meet in the industry. You know what I'm saying? Just take it slow and get to know people. This whole COVID thing, when it happened, that was a great way to learn who your real friends were. That's when you really start learning, about people that want to be by your side and want to be around and want to help. It's people started to show their true colors when COVID hit, so.
Absolutely. Wise words there. Thanks for sharing that wisdom. And, your story is amazing. Color Me Bad, really reached the pinnacle of success, I think, in the early 90s. And you guys really jumped on that. It was a very similar sound, and things were just shifting in that direction. And you guys had a pair of #1 hits, Grammy nominations, and became the it act for a few years there. What do you think contributed to that success? I think a lot of young people are, looking into that. And there's a lot, I've, met a lot of musicians with a lot of talent, but they don't ever really go anywhere. What was that it factor that contributed to you guys becoming basically the biggest thing for quite a few years there?
You've got to really be genuine. You've got to, when you're singing a song, anybody can sing a song, sing the melody, do a great job. Even if you've practiced over and over and over, you can sing a song and do a great job. But if your heart and your soul isn't in it, if you aren't like really trying to make people believe what you are singing is coming from you, as opposed to just singing some lyrics off a sheet of paper, then it's really not going to give you that it or wow factor. I think it was that we really loved what we did, and every song we sang, we made sure that not only every note, but every word that came out, we wanted people to feel. And so just like, acting, basically, you've got to put some feeling and emotion into those words, or else they really don't mean anything. So you have to be believable. And I think what it was for us is we just loved what we did. We loved
Yes.
it. We weren't a manufactured group. We were friends. I knew Kevin from the 6th grade up, and Marc and Sam met each other in elementary school. So we all met as friends first, and we just all happened to love music. And from there, it grew into something that was really, really cool. So we just loved what we did, and we shared it with people. You know what I'm saying? People can tell, I guess, when it's genuine, when you're just going through the motions, or when you're really, like, it was a perfect timing for what we were doing. We loved listening to 50s and 60s music, like old doo-wop songs. And there was like a new like sound kind of evolving that we called hip hop doo-wop. So it was those nice drum loops and hip hop beats, but with those 50s and 60s doo-wop harmonies. And so we just loved it so much that I think that love came through, and people heard that in the music. And I think that's what it was, is it was genuine.
And, first of all, I love what you just shared. I think what I always liked about your performances was you guys have fun. And I think that, ultimately was the cherry on top, but you guys did build a foundation where you worked very hard for many years. And a lot of people don't see that. They just see the 1991 fame, but they didn't see all the years before that where you guys were in high school, that you basically had to pay your dues. And I think that is something that is less talked about these days. I think people just see, especially in the world of Instagram and TikTok and all of that, everyone's just everyone sees the end product. They don't see what it took to get up there. So what's your advice for people to work hard and to build the foundation for becoming perfect on every note, perfect on every nuance when you sing and production, all of that?
You take care of yourself, you eat right, you get your sleep, and you work hard. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from Luther Vandross. Actually, I was a huge Luther fan, and if you're familiar with him, he was a heavier guy that had lost a lot of weight. A lot of people don't know that before my group came out, I was about 400 pounds the beginning of my senior year in high school. So I was a really big guy, and so I paid a lot of attention to Luther. And so even him losing that weight was what inspired me to want to lose the weight myself, because I never really felt like the inside matched the outside. The voice didn't really match the outside. You know what I'm saying? And so his words, the first thing I heard him say was, it's about 90% business, 10% art. And that was kind of a bummer to hear, because, like you said, the young people, they think it's just all about the enjoying yourself and the fun and the glitz and the glam. There's a lot of business and politics involved, and you have to be ready for that. And if you're not ready for that and you're not educated when it comes to the business, find someone that does know, that you can trust, and pay attention to your business, because there are a lot of vultures out there that can take advantage of you. But I would say, number one, pay attention to your business, or have someone you trust that can for you. And two, just work hard. There's a million other artists out there doing what each and every one of us love and want to do. And we want to fill a particular slot. There's millions of other people out there that want that same thing. And the only thing that's going to make that difference is you taking care of yourself and you pushing yourself harder and practicing more than that next person. But just don't lose yourself. Don't, keep your feet on the ground, stay humble. That's probably the key, is staying humble.
Absolutely.
I've met a lot of artists growing up. I'm still a huge fan of a lot of artists, and there's nothing worse than meeting someone that you loved and you grew up listening to, and they're rude or full of themselves or act like they just don't have time to stop and talk. Stay humble. Always thank your fans and appreciate your fans, because without those people, where are you?
Right.
So you stay grounded and work hard.
I love it. Great advice. And, it's funny you said something when you worked that hard to lose your weight. One thing you can't change is the color of your skin. So yet you were you were so brave at that time to do what sounds like, it sounds like it's coming from a Black person singing, really. And you won 2 Soul Train awards. I mean, for a group that was predominantly non-Black to really break through in the Black market, that is a very, that's rare. It's been done. Hall & Oates, George Michael, they experienced some of that, Blue Eyed Soul success. But for you guys, and it's very interesting because you kind of were the first real like boy band or boy group that was able to do that. What was that like? And any advice for people these days, if you can get accused for cultural appropriation these days, but what are your thoughts on some honest young kid that really wants to explore a genre that's nothing like what would match the outside?
You stay true to your craft and you just keep moving. That's what makes this such a fantastic business to be in. Is it's an art, and especially these days, it really doesn't matter anymore. Back then, that was just the last thing on my mind was the color of my skin, and that's what was so awesome about living in Oklahoma, of all places. When we went to elementary school, junior high, high school, there was no segregation. There was no all Black or all white schools. There was some that were predominantly one side or the other, but there was always a mixture. And I was lucky enough to grow up like right down the middle. So when I met Kevin, he was like, I looked up to him, I didn't think about the color of his skin. When I met Marc, he's Mexican. I didn't think about the color of his skin or his background. What brought us together was our love for music. And that's what kind of cut through all of those walls and those things that keep people apart or keep people uncomfortable and not want to open up and share or get to know someone else because of the color of their skin. That's why we called our group Color Me Bad. If you were going to color us anything at all, color us bad. So
I love it. And
funny,
the horse too.
Yeah. When I was young, like one of my favorite groups ever was the Commodores. I mean, actually, they were my favorite group ever. And Lionel Richie was my hero. So he had a song come out called Stuck on You. And Stuck on You was a song that was, I think it went #1 pop, R&B, yes, country. Now, how many people have done that? So now that's breaking through all the barriers. And that was always a goal of mine from a very young age, was to sing the type of music that could cut through all of those barriers. And so when we actually did get a Soul Train award and have #1 hit on R&B radio, I had achieved my goals. I didn't care what else happened after that. So I loved it. And that was something that was a goal of ours, was to try to cut through those barriers. George Michael did it. Hall & Oates did it. Lionel Richie did it. A lot of the big rap stars these days, I mean, that's what pop radio is, a lot of it, like they're playing everything on every other station and it really doesn't matter anymore. So I think we've kind of found a nice spot to be in. I just want to see a lot of the live instruments and a lot of the old school sounds come back. And I think they're coming. I think
so too. I feel it. I really feel a hunger because a lot of young people are listening back to music from our day, from like the 80s and 90s, because it's a doldrums right now. But specifically when you guys broke through, it was New Jack Swing. It was, the Belle Biv DeVoe, that whole like Bobby Brown, that late 80s, early 90s. What happened to that great genre? I mean, I remember like Whitney Houston's I'm Your Baby Tonight is like one of my favorite songs. I just love the groove in that song. I mean, that music, that was so hot for like 3, 4, 5 years there, but then kind of fizzled out. What happened to it? And will there be a comeback?
Oh, I think it's on the comeback now already. I really do. When you mentioned Belle Biv DeVoe, it's funny because New Edition, that was the group that we wanted to pattern ourselves after as well. Of course, before them, it was the Jacksons, the Jackson 5, and then New Edition, and then branched out from New Edition was Belle Biv DeVoe and Bobby Brown. I wore Bobby Brown's record out when I was in. I mean, I had the cassette tapes and I played it and played it and played it, you know. And I just, I think everything, you know, it's music is always evolving, but the funny thing is it always ends up going back and taking root in something retro. And you just, because you just away from those old sounds. And I think it's because those old sounds, vocally and instrumentally, were real. They weren't synthesizers and nothing, not taken away from synthesizers and samples and things that sound like, you know, like you can play a keyboard now plugged in and it sounds almost as good, if not better, than a grand piano because of how high tech the industry is now. And but I think it's all going back to those live instruments and when people wrote and told stories in their music. So I think it's coming back already. Like I think we're here actually.
Awesome. I hope hopefully your song will take off and be part of that renaissance, because you know, that was a big part of my childhood, that late 80s, early 90s. I just loved that music. My father loved that music. We had all those records, the same Bobby Brown one, you know, New Edition, Belle Biv DeVoe.
Let's
really
not James Ingram. You remember
James
all
Ingram.
Artists that Freddie Jackson, like there was some greats, man, that I would love for some of these young people to listen to and hear. There was a lot of great ones, man. I didn't mean to cut you.
Ingram, oh my God, what a voice on that guy when he did Just Once with Quincy Jones. Wow. Yeah. And I think around the time that you were a hit, I Don't Have the Heart was a #1 hit for him in that era.
Yeah. Incredible vocals, man.
Mm-hmm. Now, I Want to Sex You Up, your breakthrough hit, was turned down by both Belle Biv DeVoe and Keith Sweat. What about that song
Christopher
made
Williams
you jump on it?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Did that break up? I said, I Want to Sex You Up was turned down by Belle Biv DeVoe and Keith Sweat. What made you guys go, oh, this is a hit, we must jump on this?
It had that doo-wop factor in it. It had those old 50s and 60s type places in it that you could harmonize to. And so that's and plus there was a scene in the movie, we got to see a little bit of the scene that it was supposed to be for, and we just thought it was perfect. What caught us right off the bat were the chords and the places for the doo-wop harmonies in there. That sold us.
And that was such a breakthrough. And I think years later, Boys to Men, I think you know, with Motown Philly, probably paid homage to what you guys did. So
oh man, that's another great group, man. Boys to Men, they were another one that knew those harmonies for the 90s. That was a big thing. I mean, we even got a chance to hang out with them. We actually recorded a song with those guys called For All Eternity on one of our albums. Great guys and awesome vocals. You know, they were into like the harmonies and things as well. So
oh, definitely. And you know, collaboration, speaking of, it seems like you are so diverse in those that you collaborated with. You know, Kool and the Gang makes sense. You know, they're one of the greats. But Insane Clown Posse, what was that like? And tell me how that experience came up, and you know, what you guys do is so different from ICP. But
that story, oh my gosh, that blew my mind. I remember getting a voicemail from Joe Bruce, and that's Violent J from the Insane Clown, from ICP. And you know, he's got kind of a scary voice, and so he was like, "Hey man, I'm a big fan, and I love more." And I thought it was a joke, man. I honestly thought he was just messing with me. I was like, this guy's like trying to make fun of me or clown me, for the lack of a better word. I didn't know he was serious. And so I called him up, and he's a really nice dude, really professional, really, really nice guy. And he just basically told me that, you know, he loved his craft and loved what he did. But he said that actually what a lot of people don't know is he The first time we actually talked on the phone, he told me that he and his wife's favorite song was I Adore Me More. And so we linked up and did some recording, and I happen to just love music. It doesn't matter what the sound is, what the subject matter is. I was just excited to team up and try something new. I like trying new things. But shortly after we recorded together, he asked me if I would sing at he and his wife's wedding. So I actually was invited to Detroit to come and sing at Joe Bruce and his wife's wedding, which was an honor. But who would have thought that somebody like, Violent J from ICP would be interested in hearing Bryan Abrams sing a hook on one of his tracks? But it worked. It was a super, super cool track. He's a really nice dude. And that just goes to show how music can break.
Very cool. Yeah, it really goes to show your diversity as well. Now, VH1's Man Band Experience, that was another interesting project you took on, where you work with a lot of other boy band groups together to kind of make a super group. Tell us about that experience. And ultimately it was 7 episodes, but it didn't continue after that. Tell us about that experience, and if you would do it again, and maybe what you have done differently. I just want to hear your thoughts on it.
It was a really cool experience. Got along great with all the guys. Jeff Timmons from 98 Degrees is a friend of mine. We got to know each other pretty well during that filming and after. Chris Kirkpatrick, another nice guy. The Rich Cronin, he passed, but he was one of the funniest, nicest people I ever met. And I think it's going to sound funny, but I think the reason why that show didn't do as well is because what they were hoping was that they were going to see a train wreck. I think they thought VH1 was going to get these guys together and they'd be so different that there would be fighting and people, causing problems. I think that because I'll be honest with you, there were several occasions where we felt that they were trying to deliberately throw us under the bus, like set up. Back then, there was a lot of shows where they would set up scenarios to see drama unfold. That was the bad thing about reality shows back then. And what happened was Brian Michael Cox was the producer that came on the show. And what happened was kind of a freak thing. Everybody hit it off right from the beginning. And we wrote some really, really good songs, man. The songs came out incredible. And everybody just fell into their own little slot. Nobody was fighting. Nobody was arguing. I think they wanted fighting and drama is what they wanted for that show. And because we got along so well, what's interesting about watching a bunch of guys get along and actually record some good music? I think they were hoping for a train wreck.
Wow, that's very powerful to hear that. And sad too. But speaking of drama, you're towards the last couple of decades with Color Me Bad, there was drama between you and the band members, to a point where there was an incident in 2018, so about 3 years ago. And I think that really was the incident that maybe pushed you to sobriety. But tell us a little bit about that tension there, and what you've learned from overcoming that. And I think there's a really positive outcome here that we should be sharing with people about how to get through dependence on alcohol, and to ultimately mend relations with the people you love. And I think you love your bandmates like brothers. Have you been able to make reconciliations yet?
We have basically just decided to kind of go our separate ways. We started at a really young age, and to be in many years, when you grow up, you kind of grow into different identities. And I wanted to go a certain direction with the music, and wanted to do a certain thing. And especially I was suffering from alcoholism, and I was trying to hide it. I really didn't have a support system on the road at all, because he had his own things that he was kind of having to deal with. And so, without getting into it too much, I would just say I decided if I thought if I'm going to stay sober and I'm going to change my life, turn my life around, I had to make some changes career wise as well. And so we just decided to go our separate ways because the business at the time, we were doing the I Love the 90s tour. We were doing some other things. And I really wasn't happy in my life. We weren't really getting along as far as the direct the music and what we wanted to do. So I just decided to, for once in my life, work on getting my voice back. And I don't mean a singing voice, but just being, there. I spent a lot of time trying to ask for help, but not knowing exactly how to ask for help. And so I just finally, my wife and I talked, and we just decided that it was time for me to step out of the business for a while. Marc wasn't wanting to stop the shows and put things on hold, so I could go into treatment. He wanted to continue to perform and make money, and I wanted to take some time to take care of myself. And so we just, we had to go our separate ways. But I have spoken with some of the other guys. I've talked to Marc, to Kevin a while back. Sam's doing his own thing. We're just kind of all living our lives and doing what we do. I just felt like, to be honest with you, I spent a lot of years living for other people and doing for other people. And I knew if I was going to get sober and get myself right, that I needed to start living and doing for myself and thinking about my own health. You know what I'm saying?
Wise words, wise words. Coming down from a stratospheric level of fame, I think, is what has contributed to a lot of people's, move to alcohol. And I think you had mentioned a little bit about, it helped you with the, the writing process and the singing process, where at first it was a good, kind of Band-Aid, then you became dependent on it. Can you tell us a little bit about, kind of the things that contributed to, that the downward spiral, and maybe some wisdom where we can, where people can glean some lessons from, especially, I think it's tough for everyone when, especially for a few years there, you guys were like the biggest thing in the world. And then as fame never lasts, I think we're even seeing current artists like, certainly I see like Madonna right now trying to cling on to that, but it's just not hitting. What is your advice for people that will hit a very high level of fame that most people won't ever experience, but then coming down from it?
You've got to stop and step back and focus on yourself and your life, the people around you, your family, and just kind of around yourself. I think a lot of people get addicted to that life in the fast lane, and they're not happy unless they've got a #1 hit or a top 10. They want to keep that level, and that's an impossibility. You can't constantly stay at that level without burning yourself out. And that's why you see a lot of these entertainers, and it's sad. You see a lot of them, they will keep that level up for a long time. But what happens is they start falling apart behind the scenes, and they're afraid to open up and talk to someone about it. And then they've got all these other people around them that are yesing them to death and not telling them what they need to hear, which is slow down. Let's take some time off and let's focus on you as a person, and not just continue to be a machine and just cranking out these hit after hit after hit. It'll burn you out, and people lose their lives over it. So you got to slow down and accept that you just can't keep that level of energy and those numbers. You can't keep it going without burning yourself out. You know what I'm saying? You got to stay humble and stay grounded. And it's hard to deal with. And that's why the drinking kind of started really affecting me in my life, because I was trying to keep it all in, as far as the disappointment, the depression. What a lot of people don't know, again, is that I was a really big guy in school. So whenever you saw this thin person singing lead vocals for this band, what they didn't know is inside I was still that big kid. I was still really insecure. So when I'd go out on stage, I'd be scared to death, but everybody wanted to see this powerful, courageous person. And so one night I lost my voice, and I was really upset because I didn't know how I was going to make it through this show because I was singing the lead vocals. And my bus driver said, well, let me fix you a hot toddy. So he fixed me some, some hot tea with lemon and honey and a shot of whiskey in it. And I took that shot, and within 15 minutes, my voice is back. I've got like a little buzz, so I'm feeling happy. And I went out there and performed. And after that show, my own band came to me and said, what got into you? That was the best vocals we've ever heard you do. And I honestly thought I had found the magic ticket. I was like, is this what I have to do in order to be that good? And so I started having a drink before every show, and it kind of calmed my nerves, made me a little more aggressive and brave on stage. And I started leaning on that crutch instead of, maybe speaking to someone that cared about me or that I trusted about my insecurities and how I felt. I never had time to deal with losing all that weight and becoming this new person. I mean, we struggled for about 2 years in New York before we got our deal, but I was just so focused on getting that weight off and keeping it off to work towards this record deal that I forgot how to take care of myself in the process, and so over time in those years, things just started happening, and I never really took the time to try and get myself any help or counseling or anything. You know what I'm saying? So you've got to be careful out there. It's a crazy business. You've got to make sure you keep yourself and your health number one over the money. It's health before wealth.
Absolutely. And now though, let's kind of shift this over to a positive note. You got your new single that you're so and you should be very proud of it. It sounds great. It's really just solid vocals. It flows real well. You got this breakdown that's almost like old school. It's like kind of like a doo-wop thing I'm hearing, and I think it's a chorus, and it's just what inspired this song, and do you have an album? Tell the audience a little bit about what to expect from you now, 3 years of sobriety and getting back out there.
A lot of surprises coming. There's been several things that have been in the works. And the solo album is something that I've been working on for some years now, but I didn't want to do it until I had my life together, and my wife knew this as well. She knew that I didn't want to pull the trigger on something like that until I felt that mentally and spiritually, I was in good enough shape to be able to handle something like that. Because if you can't enjoy it and you're not in a good place, what's the point of it? So yes, I'm going to be releasing a solo album very soon. Because of You is the first. And what I wanted to do with this album was basically tell my life story in it. It's fun to write and just, sing songs about having a good time. But when you get older and you have a family, you want your art and your craft to grow with you. And so I wanted there to be some substance. I wanted there to be some stories and some inspiration in there for other people that might need it, because I was one of those people. I listened to music for inspiration, and music was my therapy. Even as a child, going through some of the things that I did as a child, music was my escape. So I wanted this album to be something that people could listen to and enjoy, but just get something out of, maybe spiritually, personally. And so the stories are very important. And I feel like basically, Because of You especially is about my wife and her loving me when I didn't even love myself, and believing in me when I didn't even believe in myself. And because of that, I was able to learn how to start loving myself again and believing in myself again. And those things are what helped get me sober, because I actually believed in myself enough to know that I could stop and make some changes, regardless of what everyone else was saying about me or to me. she helped me learn how to believe in myself again. So the song is just about loving someone and wanting to make changes in your life. And sometimes when a person doesn't love themselves enough to make these things happen, you know, a lot of people in AA will say, you've got to do it for yourself. You've got to love yourself. How do you make that happen if you don't love yourself enough to try? You know, so that's when family and friends and loved ones come in. And instead of, you know, just pushing someone away because they're bad, or, you know, they've made some mistakes in their lives, you don't just throw a person away, throw them in the trash because they've made mistakes and are lost. You know, lend them a hand. That's what we were put here to do, is to help each other and to love one another and show the way when somebody else doesn't really see the path. You know, so I just want to tell stories with this album, and I want to show people that I've still got a little something left in the tank. I'm not too old just yet, and so it's been a long time coming, and I'm excited about it.
That's wonderful. And is there going to be a release date for the album? I know the single is out now. We can stream it, right? So tell us where we can find it to stream, and when the album's going to be out.
At Bryan Abrams Music or bryanabramsmusic.com. If you go there, you can see all the different places that you can go. It's you can stream it, you can purchase it. It's available worldwide. And so bryanabramsmusic.com is where you go, or at Bryan Abrams Music. And I hope everyone likes it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then the album will be released sometime next year?
I'm not sure. I'm still kind of keeping that secret. I'm really not sure yet. There's a few more little things I want to finish up in there, and then I'll start letting the cat out of the bag.
Understood. Any other projects you're pursuing besides, you know, obviously the album and Up Live, you know, being a judge and a mentor? Anything else you're doing?
I've actually just shot a short film that we're going to be releasing soon. About my life story. I wanted to talk about some of the personal things, and I want to. That's one of the big things that I want to do with my career in the future, is I want to use the music as a springboard to be able to speak, to go and give testimony or tell my story, you know, about how things got and where I was in my life and what I did to turn it around. I want to help other people that are struggling out there with mental health issues and addiction, you know, alcoholism and substance use disorders. I want to be able to talk about those things and maybe help some people. The whole key to staying sober for me is to stop being selfish and start being selfless. And so the more I try to reach out and help someone else, the easier it is for me to stay focused. You know what I'm saying? So the music, I'm actually working on a documentary deal right now. I'm working on a book, and all of these things are going to kind of talk about my life and, you know, how I got where I was and how I got myself straightened out again. And I'm hoping that maybe it'll inspire some others to want to turn their lives around, you know, instead of giving up. Don't give up. You know, don't keep it to yourself anymore. Share how you feel with somebody and get it out, as opposed to keeping it in. You know, don't let your insecurities and your negativity in your head destroy you.
Absolutely. What wise words. And I just really connected with everything you said there. I mean, so many people do bottle it up, and so many people don't know how to have those tough conversations or to reach out and say, I need help. And, you know, it looks like, wisdom can be gained in the darkest of situations and experiences, and you've come out in a very good way. So I think that story really needs to be heard. And,
reaching out doesn't show weakness. Telling someone you need help doesn't show weakness. That shows strength. It's you know, you've got to reach out and tell someone how you feel and ask for help. That's the hard part, but that shows strength. And that's where it starts is just reaching out to someone and not hiding it anymore.
Absolutely. And, you have a heart also for the autism community and the special needs community. For me, my volunteer work in those communities has helped me really appreciate the gifts that God has given, me, and to just appreciate the little things, to be able to say, hey, I can do this, while some with, who are born with less fortunate circumstances are unable to. But yet, when you look at a lot of those children, especially, and a lot of them young adults now, have much more joy than the average person, because I think gratitude is the center of a lot of, being happy. It's, if anyone's ever been to, and I know, you've traveled the world, you go to some of these third world countries and you see people living in abject poverty, but still with a huge smile on their face,
Smiling,
because
happy.
they have joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's that is, for me, is one of the most fulfilling things. So I look forward to joining you in this journey, Bryan. I know your heart is there to, share your very powerful story. And that is a story that sadly is as old as time. You have people who achieve fame like yourself, and then some sadly do not get out of did not get the rebirth or the phoenix experience that you did.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, and it can be inspiring to a lot of other artists dealing with, a very unique level of fame. So let's get this out there. Let me know when the movie is released. And, in the meantime, tell us, let's end on this note. Aside from music, aside from making documentaries, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Spend time with my wife and my daughters. I'm a big idiot. I'm a big kid, so we just like to clown and have fun. We play games, we swim. We like spending time with each other, just sitting around and laughing and just having a good time with each other.
I love it.
Yeah, I missed out on a lot over the years that I was, kind of caught up in the alcoholism. So I'm savoring every moment right now. It doesn't even really matter what we do. I just enjoy being with my family.
And that spirit of gratitude, really, I can feel it. Thank you. And I feel it in the song, it just really check out Because of You. What a great song. Let's hope more and more people hear that, and your spirit of gratitude that's throughout that song. And I'm sure your wife loves it. Is that her favorite song right now?
I don't know. She may be sick of it from hearing it so much. I don't know. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. It's so funny because right before we released it, she was asking me for the lyrics, and I know she knew the lyrics, but she had never actually looked at them, sit down to read the lyrics as opposed to just listening to the song. And she said, I had no idea those lyrics were so beautiful. And I'm like, the song has been around for quite a while and you're just now really hearing it. And she just said there was something about reading the lyrics. I guess maybe it hit her like a letter. Maybe I'm not sure what it was, but it was so funny to hear her say that. And so it just made me feel, I felt how special she thought the song was again, even after all the years we've been together. And so, man, you got to treasure the people in your life that love you, and you got to love them too. You know what I'm saying? Stay grounded, stay humble, and give the people in your life that love you the life that they deserve. Give them the best side of you. You know what I'm saying?
I love it. Thank you for your inspiring words. And once again, Bryan Abrams music.com.
Yes.
And that's Bryan with a Y. So Bryan.
Yeah.
Abrams, Abrams,
Yep.
music.com. So thanks, Bryan. And I'm sure we'll be in touch. Keep me posted on all your projects and activities, and we'll make sure to get that word out for you.
All right. Thank you so much, man. You have a great night.
Have a great rest of your Sunday. Okay. Take care. Bye.